So today we are going to be talking about the future track and field when it comes to like high school and collegiate athletes, right? Everyone's been talking about and battling over the different definitions of what it is to be pro. Does that mean you have a contract? We're looking at all these high school phenoms that are being produced every day. I'm currently at the AAU championships and I'm seeing all these dope, crazy performances. And it's really, really interesting to see the level of talent that is here at some of these performances. But like I said, I'm going to be talking about the future track and field and how I think it's really going to be changed forever for like in the next 5 to 10 to 15 years. I don't think there's going to be any... Everyone's been asking why you have a lot of these athletes nowadays who are like, you have all these athletes that are producing crazy times, right? You have high schoolers that are running championship times. You have world records being broken every year when it comes to like the under 18 division. We have the likes of Quincy Wilson. We had the Arian Knightons. We had the Sidney McLaughlins. We had all these past and future athletes. I mean, really setting these crazy times. We really just had a athlete, I think it was at the USATF championship, and she's 14 years old and she went 22.9, like insane. You have 14-year-old boys that aren't hitting 22 seconds, right? Really, really talented athletes that will be like the next great, big, whoever. And like I said, I have a couple thoughts about why that is, why you have a lot of these brands that are targeting these athletes and are looking to have them, be a flagship for whatever brand they're going to represent, whether it's Nike, New Balance, Adidas, Puma, even Asics, and why why that is. Like I said, it's in the best interest of all parties, when you have these brands and they're looking to make money off of these athletes. When it comes to track and field, it's in their best interest really to skew to a younger audience, a younger demographic of athletes, high schoolers, middle schoolers, even like down to, I think that we're going to reach a point in time where you're going to have the 8 and under division when it comes to AAU and USATF athletes. They're going to be sponsored because I don't think a lot of these pro athletes are generating as much income as what they're requesting. And I think it's very important, again, when you have these businesses that are connected with track and field, the Nikes, Adidas, Puma, even On Running, it's important for them to make their money from selling merch and selling products. What's up, Jesus? So a lot of people gotta really keep that in mind. And I think that's gonna be the new future, because when you're dealing with track and field athletes, you can make money without winning races when it comes to dealing with the brands, as long as you move products. We looked at the likes of someone like Sha'Carri Richardson. She had that year where in 2021 where she qualified in such emphatic fashion to attract all this attention, and then what happened? She wasn't able to, because of the weed or marijuana in her system, she wasn't able to participate, and all that negative publicity blew up her social media, and she was able to become, appreciate that, AJN, appreciate the sub. Hey, that's dope. Donate that money then. Hey, appreciate it. But with Sha'Carri, she was able to generate so much money off of off of the negative publicity that came from that situation that happened that year. So when you look at the likes of someone like that, and she didn't even win a race that year, she was able to be such a flagship for Nike, moving product, being featured in commercials with Drake and Kanye West being mentioned. That's crazy to really see. So I really, thinking about it like that, I think, in the next couple of years, you're going to have the likes of middle school athletes, high school athletes being, as long as they have a great social media following, as long as they're the flagship athlete in their area demographic, especially if it's a place that hasn't been tapped yet, like a Nebraska, like a Iowa, like a place that just, we know Oregon is known for Nike. We know Adidas is known in certain sectors. We know that Puma is really geared and advertised towards the Caribbean athletes. It's really interesting to see how in the next couple of years, how these brands are going to be advertising, like I said. But like I said, one of the other reasons, it's not just, the fact that you can make money and sell product without ever winning a race when it comes to track and field. You also have to look at it on the fact of, like, it's less overhead when you have a professional athlete, because now that term with the NIL deals, where I'm at, you're able to get an NIL deal in California, which is crazy. You know what I'm saying? If you get that in California, insane. as a high schooler, middle schooler, you have these companies reaching out, and you're able to say, hey, I represent so and so company, and they can pay you without getting in trouble. Where when I was running track in high school and college, you weren't able to do that. You know what I'm saying? So now you have it where if you're like the best athlete in your region, or best athlete in your county, or best athlete in your wherever you're at, and you're in middle school or high school, and the brand comes forward, says, yo, we want to pay you all this bread to advertise, who, you know, oh, that you take this energy drink, or you take this electrolyte drink, and we want to pay you like based on, maybe if someone, we want to pay you either a flat rate, or we want to pay you based on this link that you advertise to your followers, and how many people use that link will base your income off of that. There's so many different strategies, you know what I'm saying? But not just that though, you know, the overhead for, honestly, a middle school athlete, a high school athlete, is way different than it is for any other athlete when you actually thinking about it. A lot of these kids, you know, they still living with their parents. They still have very, very low overhead compared to most professional athletes. Professional athletes, you know, you gotta pay for their health insurance. You gotta pay for their massage therapy. You gotta pay for their chiropractic. You know, they're getting older. They're in their 30s. They're at 25. Their knees, all these different things. So, you know, you gotta pay for all these different injuries that these professional athletes are dealing with, and unfortunately, you know, it's a big overhead, where if you're dealing with middle schoolers and high schoolers and even collegiate, the overhead is provided for by their parent. It's provided for by their private school, if they have a very good health department when it comes to chiropractic and stuff. I know my high school didn't have that, but there's some high schools out there. I would imagine Quincy Wilson, with that, he goes to the high school Bullis, is a private school in Maryland. I'm sure that they have the resources to massage their athletes in between races, and to help out with massage and help out with different things when it comes to their training sessions, ice baths. You'd be surprised how many high schools don't have that. Mine did not, you know. So even colleges, everyone talks about the transition from being a collegiate athlete to a professional athlete. And when you actually think about it, it's just like, yeah, because they don't get provided for. You have to do all your resources. You have to connect all your resources when you're a professional athlete. But if you're a NIL collegiate athlete, and your high school or your college is doing everything for you, and you're still getting paid by your Nike, by your Adidas, by your New Balance, by all these different things while you're in college, yeah, you're a professional athlete. You know, you may not be doing the races, but if I just said that a brand judges your worth based on how much product you move, not by the actual races you win, that's money. That's money. So I think based on that, you know, they're gonna slowly do it. I don't think it's gonna be a big jump, but you're gonna see less and less athletes that have the recognition. Like we just saw that with Daniel Roberts, right? He just got dropped by Nike, even though he's the silver medalist for the recent last year Olympics. Why? Because he didn't have no social media following, and the budget wasn't there for him probably, and he wasn't moving product. No one says, I want to purchase this Nike uniform, or Nike tech kit, or get these Nike spikes based on watching Daniel Roberts. You know, now mind you, Daniel Roberts, I think he's from Hampton in Georgia, near where I went to, near to where I went to high school out or whatever. And again, like that area, it would have been probably helpful for him to do some kind of Nike track meet in his name at his school, whatever school he graduated from, right? To spread the word and spread the awareness about how Nike has these dope kits. And, you know, there was a lot of strategic things he probably could have focused on a little bit better, to make himself a little bit more valuable. So, you know, it's very, very interesting how that happens and how that works, and how you can retain your value to a brand when you're a professional athlete. It's not just about if you're an Olympic champion, what value do you bring to them to help them get more money? If you help them get more money, you can get a cut of that money. And I think a lot of people missed out on that. And with these, middle schoolers and high schoolers, and the way that they're utilizing social media, they got TikTok, they got Instagram, they have all these different versions of social media. It's like really, really crazy to see how an organic post to all their friends can have them more lit and more advertised, and more utilized for their particular brand. So a lot of people got to realize that if I'm a business, man, I'm looking towards who's the dopest high schooler in the area, who's the dopest middle schooler in the area. Of course, they got to be winning, like Quincy Wilson, you know, being the phenom that he is. We've been seeing that since his freshman year. He had this NIL deal from New Balance forever, like since his freshman year, running 49, 48 seconds. We saw with Sydney McLaughlin, they weren't able to give her an NIL deal for per se, but her being from New Jersey, her being near that New Balance armory environment, I'm sure they reached out in some way, shape, or form, and maybe offered her whole school to wear New Balance, just like Bullets. I'm sure they have a strategic partnership where, hey, we like Quincy Wilson, but we'll sponsor the whole team, because if they, with them running and moving the way they are, especially Bullets was Bullets before Quincy Wilson, they're gonna be Bullets without Quincy Wilson once he graduates. But we can really run this money up because your whole team is dope. We want to be involved with that. We want to sponsor you guys, and it's publicity. Like, it's a good investment. If it costs me $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 to send all this New Balance stuff to Bullets, and Quincy Wilson and his team are setting these records every single year. They have these talented athletes. Since Messiah Russell has been killing it, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I do that, especially if I can get the return back? Every time they post New Balance, everyone's recently has been looking at those shoes that he's been wearing. They don't look at the fact that, less people, I feel like, look at the fact that Sydney McLaughlin wears those same shoes. Femcabo wears those same shoes. It's like a New Balance staple shoe for a 200, 400, 800-meter runner, but everyone's looking at the fact that Quincy Wilson is wearing those shoes. I know a couple guys who got that spike where it's almost $200 just because Quincy Wilson wears it. They wear it over the bubble spike. So it's very, very important, again, as a business, to understand that the person that you're letting advertise your brand and the person that you're paying to advertise your brand has to be influential. And just because someone wins the Olympics, and just because someone wins a world championship, or just because someone's a professional athlete, whatever that means in track and field, doesn't mean that they move product. So I think they're going to start skewing towards middle schoolers, high schoolers, collegiate athletes. Man, you may see some under you, some 8 and unders repping New Balance or repping Asics in the future under some NIL deals, especially as they change the laws and rules and regulations, because it's just too much. It's too much money out here. It's too much money out here. And as we get older, and I can say this as being a older athlete per se. But I know as I get older, I post lust, right? When you're younger, you post more. You want to show off what you got going on. You post organically. I work with a couple younger athletes, and I mean, they're always talking about, like, yo, what kind of headbands you wear. They always exchanging information based on the stuff they wear. As adults, we do that sometimes, but not really, So again, when you're looking at some of these athletes, they're way more organic in how they treat and how they treat it like toys almost. They treat it like cell phones. Like, they exchange so much information at such a younger age. So I definitely think that's where it's going to go. And I think there's not going to be really a class of professional athletes. They may have some sort of standard or some sort of, in terms of financially, though, I think that's out the door. Unless they bring in some kind of increased brand awareness. Like, for example, if track and field says they want to just let alcohol companies advertise on platforms, then yeah, you can't put an 8-year-old associated with Hennessy or something like that. Other than that, though, I think it's a wrap. They're going to have to bring in some new money for the more mature 20 plus, 21-year-old plus athletes that are like post-collegiate, because I think that money's going to dry up. Overhead is just too expensive for them. And they're gonna have to figure that out, though. They're gonna have to figure that out. So yeah, guys, I just wanted to give my 2 cents on that, because it was a pretty interesting topic when I was reading and when I was checking out the scene of the future track and field. Man, a lot of people it's sad when you see all these professional athletes who are supremely talented not getting their just due, not getting their money. But it's just like, if you're not, as a person who's in business too, I can't imagine giving someone $2-3 million and they're not giving me a return on my investment. And the only reason why they're getting that money is because, I just like you, and because you're a world champion or a world runner-up. For what? I don't think that makes any sense. You know what I'm saying? One thing we could talk about, Michael Johnson. Right? Everyone's talking about this. I think I should probably save that for another time or another talk, but I feel like it's pretty interesting. So Michael Johnson, of course, with Grand Slam. I'm only gonna give my 2 cents on it because we're talking about finances and business and stuff like that. One thing I will say is that you got to be careful. It's great. I like the fact. Grand Slam was a really, really great idea. A lot of people were very optimistic about it. A lot of people were pessimistic about it. One thing I'll say is that we need this kind of change to happen in track and field, because in order for the sport to grow, you have people that need to take chances. I think the focus was too much on money and not enough on what they can provide as a service to the people who are enjoying the sport, right? The ability to see maybe the background access of how people train, the like a workout Wednesdays format, and include like almost like boxing, right? You get to see the build up to some of these races. Hey, let's have everyone do a workout Wednesday who's participating in this and use it as B-roll for the meet, right? There wasn't a behind the scenes for some of these track meets, which would have been really, really dope to see. So because of that, because there was no kind of focus in terms of what we could provide to you as a service over the fact that we're just going to give athletes a shitload of money over the past 2-3 years. As soon as that money kind of broke away, people forgot what we're actually doing here for, like what we're actually enjoying the meet for. We're not enjoying it to see people get paid. We're enjoying it to see people give us tremendously like dope performances. We saw Melissa Jefferson run 10.7 like twice. We seen Kenny Benerick run world leading times multiple times. We see the 400-meter Olympic champion versus this world champion versus this American record holder. We saw the American record get broken at Miramar. Like, we saw so many tremendous performances, and the only thing people were focusing on was how much money they were getting. Oh, I'm going to buy a Ferrari, or he just paid my rent. This isn't Oprah, right? It's a track and field performance, and that's what we need to focus on. We need to focus on that, and a lot of people lost sight of that, which is unfortunate. And I think that's the part of the reason why when that money like started to dwindle, a lot of people were pretty upset. One thing I will also say is that in terms of on the business side, when it comes to these investors, I think they need better contracts. I'm not sure what their strategy is. I'm not sure how strategic it was. What service are they selling? Are they selling advertisements by pitching this track meet to ESPN and ABC and all these things? Are they trying to get a network together? They could have, at this point, they could have probably did a partnership with FlowTrack, or they could have done a partnership with like someone who actually has a platform to host a lot of these meets. They could have done it through Hulu, but Hulu is owned by ABC, which also hosts ESPN. So I don't know what their strategy was. It's really interesting to see like how it falls apart because they ran out of money. I mean, sure, that whoever was donating the money, I'm pretty sure, with them donating the money, and maybe there was like a tariff situation. That's what the Michael Johnson said, because of the tariffs and how Donald Trump changed the tariffs, it's maybe ruined the structure of their business, so they pulled money out. But I also doesn't make any sense to me, because the person who donated this money, not donated, the person who invested this money shouldn't have had access unless there was a contractual clause of him being able to pull out at any time. That money should have been put away somewhere. No, someone can't. If you shake my hand and you write and you tell me, hey, I'm gonna be investing this money into this sports brand or into this sports company, and like, we're locked in. You can't just pull money out. We're locked in. So the fact that this person was able to pull out like 3 meets in, unless he was like a silent partner and things weren't going well, or maybe things were a lot more turbulent in the background that people want to actually admit. But I really don't understand how that happened. And I mean, they said they had a cash flow problem, and maybe this was a business that wasn't going to produce cash flow immediately. But it's just very, very strange. It's just very strange. And the fact that they couldn't secure any more investors, and it pulled everything to a halt. I mean, how much, this must have been a very like big investor, because they're not able to pay. They may have to file for bankruptcy. You got to pay all these athletes out. You have to pay for rental space. I mean, and they rented some of the most prestigious events. I mean, some of the most prestigious locations. Philadelphia. They could have done this at any high school, any like, great high school. Like, they could have done this at Texas A&M. They could have done this in like some of these old locations where they used to host a lot of track meets back in the day. Sacramento State. They could have done this at University of Florida, damn near. They could have done it at some of these areas. They didn't have to go to like a stadium where they have a 30 to 40,000 people seating, and only like a couple hundred people come. It didn't make any sense strategically. So I'm very interested how that's going to go. I mean, they could have basically streamed the event. It was a great idea. The athletes did their job. The business did not do their job. Is it any negative thing on Michael Johnson? It was No, it wasn't. I don't think Michael Johnson ran away on the plug or did anything like that. But I do think that, yeah, you can't do stuff like that, man. You gotta make sure you um, come with the business plan already done, everything locked in, contracts already signed, money's already in escrow, and we're following through with the plan. And we'll strategically, after the year's done, we'll strategically come back and see if next year we are still a go. You can put that in the contract, but you just don't in the middle of a season just be like, nah, we're good. Nah, we're good. You know what I'm saying? Like now they have no choice but to reuse content. But like I said, if they would have like maybe sent out, maybe contracted some Workout Wednesday people who are really good at telling stories, if they would have contracted them out to go to a Kenny Benerick um, go to a Kenny Benerick training session and seeing how he trains. Going to a Christian Coleman situation and see how he trains. Going to a Melissa Jefferson session and see how she trains, right? And build up their story along with and have them have free access to their to put on their YouTube, so that it's a cross promotion. You know what I'm saying? And those are the stories you want to see. Everyone wants to see, hey, how much does Christian Coleman squat? Like, what does a weight training session look like from Kenny Benerick? We already see it on his YouTube already. Why not use that as double B-roll? If he's coming as a champion from the previous race, why not use that as promo for the next race? And that's people already on the ground level doing that. Just make it a collab with whatever production company he's using and the individual that he's using from YouTube, and use it for Grand Slam. It just didn't make any sense. There's a lot of ways they could have saved a lot of money instead of just burning it. I mean, so hopefully they get that right. But like I said, these money issues are always abundant in track and field, and I think that's going to be hindering the growth. And that's the big difference between like the NFL, NBA, and stuff like that. They have to find ways to streamline how much 2-3 day track meets is crazy. Like even right now, I'm at the AU Championship. I got to be out here for a freaking week. A week, you know what I'm saying? And that's a lot of money being burned when you think about it, where an average football game lasts one day. Maybe you have tailgating the day before and then you recover the day after. Oh, that's a weekend at max. Here's a whole week off of work, off of different things. So very, very just interesting how track and field functions. Is it necessary to function like that? No, but that's track and field for you. And until the system becomes a little bit more streamlined, it isn't gonna get any better, because you can't make money off of 7 days worth of track and field races. You know who makes the money? The hotels. Unless there's a partnership with the hotels, unless the USATF or AAU owns a hotel that everyone can stay at, kind of like a Disney, right? And they pay them a specific price. But again, I don't see that happening. So, but yeah, guys, I want to thank you guys for watching. This is D Brown with Track Headz. I hope you enjoyed my my live. The next thing I'm gonna be talking about is going to be the USATF predictions for the Nationals. Nationals is coming up this weekend. I just saw the entries. It's going to be really interesting. I saw who's not going to be in the entry list. A lot of people are panicking, but I will be talking about how some of these people can qualify. So stay tuned for that. I'll be coming with that in the next, probably like tomorrow or the day after that. Going to see if anyone else is going to be having their comments, about whether they're going to be entering or not, or if any other of these athletes are going to be talking about that aren't participated or listed, or maybe they came up injured, if they're going to be having any announcements. So I'm excited to see that. I want to thank you guys for watching. This is D Brown with Track Headz. Peace.